welcome to my channel. Again, please subscribe. Again, please like. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers here, and I think something special happens at 10,000 subscribers, but I'm probably absolutely wrong. So it's not asking for 1,000,000, it's just asking for 10,000. Anyway, this is a watch repair channel. I do some watch reviews. I've put some music on here, but really it's a watch repair channel. So today I'm going to be finishing off this watch and the balance staff I made yesterday. It took me, I think, 2 days to get the balance staff made. I'm going to be seeing whether that balance staff needs major adjustments, how it sits within the watch, whether it's too high, too low, how the pivots work. I know that they will fit in the jewel holes, so that's not an issue, but is it causing the watch to be up too high or too low, and that's interference or the merge between the two parts of the impulse jewel and the pallet fork. Is that working perfectly? That interface working perfectly? Blah blah blah. So I'm going to try to do this step by step to fit this balance, to make sure the balance itself is the right size before committing to attaching all of the parts. I've had a couple of comments on the videos that I made on making a balance staff. It is a hard job. It is a long job. So don't ever think you're going to start this and not invest a lot of time in doing it. And you do get better at doing it. It probably is harder to be taping this while I'm doing it. It can't be. It's got to be a little bit distracting as I'm doing that. So I hope you enjoyed the 4 phases that I came up with. The tool phase, and then the actually doing the initial cuts isn't too bad, but doing the measurement was difficult on this. Normally that wouldn't be a problem, so I wouldn't have the measurement phase because I'd have the existing balance with the pivots, and I'd use one or the other pivot. Usually there's a surviving pivot when the balance staff is broken. This case there was no surviving pivots because I did an attempt of repivoting the balance. And one side had cracked open, so I didn't have that luxury. So I did some measuring, and I think the measuring worked. So we're going to check out this balance. Please stay tuned, and let's get on with it. So it turns out this watch has got to have a couple more things dealt with before I put this new balance staff in. I didn't realize, maybe I should have, but I didn't. But first of all, I took this screw out here in the lower. This is the lower jewel setting for the balance, and one of the screws came out. The other screw, the head was half broken, and so I took the power off the watch because I can't punch the screw out with the pallet fork in the way. So I need to remove the pallet fork from this, and I may have to take out other components, not sure, but I'm going to do that, and then I got to push the jewel out of that, out of the movement here, and then find another jewel setting because this jewel is actually cracked. It's worn out actually. So you want to make sure that the jewel's in mint condition. The upper jewel, there was no issue with the upper jewel. That was in perfect condition. The lower jewel is mangled. So I got to replace that first before I do the staff testing. All right, the upper balance cock jewel and cap jewel are in place and oiled, so this one is good. The lower one had some trouble. This is the lower jewel setting, and as you can see, the hole is cracked all to heck. So the actual cap jewel for this is fine. This is in good condition. There's no issue at all. It looked really bad, but it was just leftovers from the actual jewel hole itself. So that's the cap jewel, and you can see how clean that is. There's no issue there at all. So I'm looking at the replacement here, and I'm just put this back into my container. The tricky part of replacing this one, not only is the hole size tricky, but the width of this thing is tricky, the way it sits inside the watch. So it goes through the center. So let me show you what that looks like. It goes through the center. The cap jewel goes in first, and then the jewel itself goes in, and I've got a screw broken off on the watch itself. So this is how it sits in the watch. There's a rim, a lower rim, so you put the cap jewel in first, oil it, and then lower the jewel setting itself over that. And as you can see, I've got one screw that's fine on this side. This screw, I've got to figure out how to grab that and work that out. I think I've got a tool that I can use that will allow me to unscrew this and then find another screw to replace this, but it's a little bit of a pain to do this. So they also have a little tunnel here, a little gouge here on the side that's used for using a pin to flip up that jewel. I just turned it around, I pushed it out with a stake, and I made sure that I use a stake that was not flat. It was conic. It was what's the word? Anyway, it was conic, so inward, so it could push the edges of the settings. So this has to be resolved, but I've got to go jewel hunting now again, and find a good replacement that's the right size. And if you recall, the jewel setting, the upper jewel setting and the balance staff that I made is 0.13 millimeters in diameter. So that hole's got to be 0.13 millimeters in diameter. So there's the old setting there. So the other thing I could do if I can't find the appropriate jewel to fit this is reuse a setting. It's a little trickier, but reuse a setting and see if I can burnish in another jewel. And I likely could burnish this in from the bottom. So if you look at that, there's the burnishing material on the bottom, and this jewel goes in the other way. So the jewel goes in this way, and so this is the direction it goes in to accept the actual pivot. So I think the burnishing is on the other side, but what I could do is just destroy the jewel, try to push it out from the other side, because it will be resting on the other side on the it'll be resting on the cap jewel, so it'll be kind of, pardon the pun, captured in between there. So this has to be replaced prior to me testing that balance staff. So let's just get on with that and see where I end up. Alrighty, then the one on the right is the one I'm going to be modifying. It's pretty much the same thickness, but I've got to take the rim down a bit. And I'm going to check the hole size against the pivot I've made to make sure I don't have a hole size issue as well. I'll be using jeweling chucks on a lathe to actually take the size of the rim down, and I'll grab the inner rim and see if I can work the outer rim with the jewel chucks. Alright, there's the, after jewel hunting, there's the tip of the lower jewel, the lower balance staff actually, and I found a jewel that needs to be washed, I think, or cleaned up, but I found a jewel. I went through a lot of jewels, baby, a lot of jewels, but I found a jewel with the right pivot size. I'm trying to just hang that on the jewel just to show you. This is non-edited, folks, non-edited. Maybe I should think about editing this thing. But here we go. I'm going to just see if I can align this thing. And it fell off again. Sorry for the action video here, but there we go. So there it is, sitting, the jewel is sitting in there, and if I lean it a bit, you'll see I've got enough sticking out so that I won't have too much end play on the jewel and the pivot. And there's enough sitting out so that the cone of the pivot doesn't hit the base of the jewel. And so this, my friends, is going to be the jewel I use. There it is. That's the jewel that's going to go in. and there's enough sticking out there, so I'm going to have I think a good match there, a good mate up here. So it's tight enough. This really not that much side shake at all, and so it should be perfect. So I'm just going to take this off like that, and let's get at modifying the width, because the width of this jewel is a little bit too much, and it needs to be effectively this wide. That's the old one and the new one. So if I look at the two of them here, I just have to shave a bit off. But you can see the condition of the old one, how ratted up that thing was, right? Not good at all. There we go. That's the two new ones. So I just have to chuck this up and take a little tiny bit of material off this jewel to allow it to fit in place. So we'll do that. I don't need to show you that, I don't think. Not sure if I'll record that or not, but anyway, that's it. So again, this is the fit problem I'm having with this jewel replacement. I didn't think I'd have to do this. I thought I'd just get right into the balance staff, but that is the fit problem right there. So I've got this here, and I just have to shave off just a bit, a tad, as they say, just a tad. I'm not sure if this is going to focus for me, but of course it won't. There it is there, and I just need to shave off a tad. Yeah, there it is. It's almost fitting. So what we'll do here is get out some jeweling chucks. Let me just show you what that looks like right alongside, and chuck that up and see if I can remove material around the circle of that. I'm planning on chucking it up on the edge so that it exposes the outer rim, and it'll let me do it that way. So I'm going to get on with that so I can finish this job. Plus I need to remove that screw somehow, that screw head in there. Alright, this is a set of Watchcraft friction jeweling chucks I picked up. Look at those. And the trick here, what I'm going to do is take this jewel setting. I picked that up with Rodico so I don't lose it. If you don't use Rodico, the likelihood of this thing flinging is pretty friggin' high. So what I want to do is capture the rim of this setting within one of these chucks. So if I look at the chucks, I have to look at the rim size there and try to match that up. And that way I can squeeze the rim in and not worry about the depth. The other thing too is that I could use a different set of chucks. I'm going to grab another set of chucks because these are good chucks here, but the problem is the other set of chucks have got a peg in the middle that pushes out and allows you to adjust the depth of the jewel in here. So I won't lose, basically lose the edge from getting grabbed. So I was on a bit of a mission for collecting jeweling chucks at one point in time, and I got the See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Speak No Evil. And so here's a good set of jeweling chucks. And here's another good set of jeweling chucks. And here's another good set of jeweling chucks. I'll have to figure out which of these sets of jeweling chucks will fit this jewel the best, and then get back. Now the cool thing about these jeweling chucks is you can modify the depth, and that's what I want to do. So when I throw the jewel in there, the jewel setting in there, I modified the depth of the backstop for this, so it makes it a little bit easier to work with. So this one might work. It's a little wider than I like, so I'll put that aside as a first choice, but I'd like it a little bit smaller on the inside, so I'll put that, it's in the middle, I'll remember that. That's my first choice there. And this one here, the chucks are a lot wider, which gives you more, I guess it gives you a bit more options, but they're pretty wide. So these ones here, if you measure it against the jewel size, you want to make sure the plunger in the middle is not pushing on the jewel itself. So even though these chucks are a bit wide, they could damage the jewel setting itself. So I don't want that to happen. So these might be a non-starter. And then there's these ones here with the, I don't mind these ones. They seem to have a pretty positive plug in them. So I just, again, don't know what the size would be for fitting this. So whether this one here might work, maybe. So again, if I pull this out, I should be able to adjust the base. These are pretty long too. So if I pull that out and just push that back a bit, these usually fit into like a 50 collet, 50 size collet. So you have to have the 50 size collet over the top of that. So now put that in place like that. And is that fitting in there? Yes, it is. So that there, if you look at this, that fits in there, so I should be able to grab the rim. I'm just going to screw it out a bit so it's touching. And there it fell out, so it's just a bit in like that. And then that'll grab the rim. And it should allow me to work the outer edge of this jewel setting. And I don't have to take a lot of material off of it, just a bit. So there we go. I'm going to back this off a bit more. And there it is there. This is the one anyway, so let's just get this all set up. And let's see if it's a 50 collet I need. So I'll put the cap on the rest of them and get this set up. All right, I found a nice size 50 collet, and so this would go, the jeweling chuck preset here goes into the collet. I can line these leaves up, but probably not necessary. And then these will squeeze down on this. So when I squeeze these on the edge, that squeeze down on this collet here, which squeezes down on the rim of the jewel setting, which allows me to very carefully remove a bit of material from this jewel. So that's kind of the setup there. So let me get the lathe in and set this thing up. All right, here we're going to put the collet in with the jeweling collet in there, and just tighten that up. This is under my very nice stereo microscope and camera, and I'm just going to see how that tightens up here. Not too bad, as you can see. Now hopefully I've got enough real estate here to tighten this jewel up without a problem. So I'm going to basically get in close here and try to not hit my head too much on the camera or my display here, and just get the jewel in there like that. And it looks like it's staying, which is nice. I think I got success here, so let me tighten that up some more. There we go. That's in there. So the other thing I could have done to do this is used a wax chuck. So now I've got that tightened nicely, and the trick here then is I'm just going to see if I can remove my move my lighting a bit so it's not too shiny. Right about there is not too bad, right? Right about that. So it's in my face, but that's fine. And so now I got to get the very fine gravers out, but I need to adjust the tip over tool rest, or else you're going to be way too close to the jewels to do anything. So if I put the tool rest right here, is that enough room for me to get my 2mm graver in there to take off some material? That's the tricky part. So let me just set that up. I'll be right back. So I decided to use my 4mm graver because it's a little bit wider than the actual material, where the 2 is way too small. It's not as wide as the material I need to move. So I got to be so careful with this. I don't want to catch the graver on the edge of the chuck. That's the tricky part. All right, let's see if I can remove material from here. Good news is it's brass. I may not or need to sharpen the graver, I don't know. All right, that could be it. So I'm going to just check the fit now and see if that works. Take the part out of the chuck here. I just need to make sure I've got some Rodico on the end. And I'll just wrap the Rodico right around the chuck like this so I don't lose the jewel setting. And then loosen it like that. And it should, it's going to pull the chuck out, but I've got the jewel setting right there. So now I just need to go to the watch itself and see if that drops in. Alright, I've got the movement actually sitting in the lathe bed. I'm going to grab the jewel here, and I'm going to keep my hand underneath it the whole time. So if I accidentally drop it, it'll drop onto my hand until I get over to the watch like this. And then I'm just going to see if this actually will fit in. Wow, it's so close. Oh, there we go. I think it just went in, but it's not going down far enough. So I want to make sure. I think I didn't take enough material off the upper or the back part of that rim. So I'm going to put it back in again and see and take just a bit more material off of it. So you can see that a little more material is needed on the outside part than on the inside. Now I could use a stone to do this, but I think I can be very careful and shave that off. Let me get my ridiculously close glasses on because it won't work with the your normal magnification. You've got to get the times 15 magnification in here to get that to work properly. There, that should do. Let's see if it fits. Again, you want to get your tool rest out of the way and then stick the Rodico right on the face here so you do not lose that jewel. And then just loosen everything up and the jewel setting will come out like that. So that's pretty cool. And I'll just take this and just place it on the watch, and let me just change views. And there's the movement. Now I'm going to take this setting out of the Rodico here that I have got just sitting in the Rodico here and get that in position to just drop in and see what happens. I know I'm talking like it's a golf game, but I'm very nervous about all this stuff. Again, moving it up very carefully into position. It should just drop straight down right now. There's the the material I've taken off. And is it dropping down? I think it is, but I'd like it to drop a little further, I think. I'm not sure. Let me just push it down with some pegwood and see how far it goes. That's not too bad. Let's look at the other side, because another jewel is going to go in there. So well, that's not terrible, but I'm going to take a bit more material off that. That's just not deep enough in there. I just want it to drop so there's no issue at all in fitting. All right, here we go. Let's see if this drops in nicely. I'm thinking it should, because I just removed a whole lot more. Yeah, that's good there. I know for a fact this will drop in because it's in there sideways. So let me just grab it with the Rodico and see if I can. There we go. See, look at that. So that is a good fit. I know it's going to go all the way down. There's no issue at all, and it doesn't go that far anyway, because there's another jewel, which is the cap jewel, that goes in first. So the cap jewel gets set in, and then this jewel gets put in over the cap jewel. So that was a good job. Good job. So now we'll do the installation and finish this off. I do have to remove that screw though, so we'll get that out, see if I've got a device that can grab that screw and pull it out. All right, we've got the jewel all figured out in here. Now I just have to remove this screw, half a screw, and guess what? I knew I had one of these, but I didn't know where it was, but it's a Bergeron screw remover. Let's see if I can figure out how this works. So this is a small screw I'm trying to remove. So take the back end off of this. Theoretically, this is a Bergeron tool, but you're never really sure. So I want to use this one here. So let me just flip these around. Come on. Don't make me yell. There we go. Alright, so this is the one I want to use to grip with. So I'll go on this side, and I'll go thick or thin, not sure. And then on this side, this is the one that just squeezes in, so on this side. So I can just pressure down on that, I think. And I'll just leave a little nubby on the end sticking out. Now I may have to take the movement apart to do this, because I think that that and it fits. I get the movement together. I didn't know I had a broken screw issue, so I do need to widen that up a bit and just go in here like that. And I think that this might be too big. Yeah, that might be too big. That's the screw hole right there, and there's no way this thing is small enough to get in there. So this tool, as wonderful as it is, will not work. Thank you very much. Alright, let me see if I got a good fit with the balance for now. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can put in this cap jewel. That's going in pretty good. There it is there. I'm going to check it from the other side to make sure I don't have issues on the other side and there's no gaps. Yeah, it's kind of rocking sideways a little bit, so I'm going to need to press down a bit more to get that cap jewel in nicely. This watch has turned out to be one heck of a challenge, I'll tell you that. There we go. That was the click I was looking for, folks. So that's all the way down now. So now I need to put a little oil in there. So we're going to oil that before we put our new jewel down. And then we're going to do a little bit of praying that it sits in nicely. I'm not sure if that'll work or not or what. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in there, just a tad. There we go. And then the new setting that I made here, or revised. This is the jewel setting here, and this goes in only one way, so just make sure it's going in the right way. That's going to go in like this, just like that. Now the question is, can I hold that in place? It's a little bit loose in there, actually. Probably could have sawed less material off of that, but will the screw hold it in? That's the question I have. So I have a very small screw here, and for this setting, and I'm not sure if this screw is going to be adequate to hold that in, or do I need to go screw hunting? Because I do have a lot of screws, and I want to have one that goes in there nice and firmly. That might not be good enough, don't know. So let me just screw that in. I got to move everything over just a bit because I'm going to touch the camera with my head. And just screw that thing in. I could go for the microscope camera, but for now I'm just going to see whether this fits or not. I think I'm going to have to take all the plates off and get rid of that. So that does fit nicely. But I think I'm going to have to take the plates off because I'm going to need another screw on the other side. But for now, I may want a larger screw, but I'm going to have to drill out this screw for sure. That's not going to work. This screw is fitting in, but it's not hugging the material enough, I don't think. And it might be pushing the whole thing over a bit, but but I'm going to want to see whether it all kind of fits, right? So and it's the bottom one. And what I don't want to do is break the pivot at all, so I just want to rest it in here if I can. Now I could stake the balance on. So there it is there. Now, if I put the balance cock on, is it going to fit? Is it going to go in and fit where the pivot is? Or am I going to have further issues? Too big, too small, whatever. I may have to put the balance on to do this fitting properly, because I don't think I can do it like this. Yeah, that's not going to work. So a few things here. So put the balance on first. Screw out the that screw. You just get all this stuff back in where the watch is. Screw out that screw, because I need a bigger screw to hold that other jewel setting in place here, because it's a nice setting and everything, but it's just not good enough. I need a wider screw in here to hug the rims of this thing, but I need to screw that thing out. So I hate to say it, but I need to disassemble this friggin' watch again, which is very disappointing. So I'm just getting very tired of this one, but I'm going to have to do it, so I have no choice. This is something that might end up being done in a week and a bit, because I've got one more cottage thing to do, and I likely will not have time to do this. Could have picked a screw up here that just kind of went for a little trip. And then that setting will fall right out, I think. Or will it? There it is. And the other setting, I don't know, I leave that in there or take it out, because I don't want it to get messed up and lost or anything with what I need to do with this thing. So just push it out and put that setting back. And now we're going to have to disassemble this watch again to deal with this broken screw head that was on the inside that I did not know was there, because there's no way I can drill this out without using my plates. So that's it for now. We'll be back with this saga at a later date. I think I'm almost there. Hey JD, back here again. Have done a lot of work. I put I basically had a 3-jaw chuck, and I chucked this plate up. This is the plate that's going to receive the new balance and balance staff. This is the old screw hole, and it was completely a disaster. So I never saw that when I got the watch together. I just thought there was no issue, but there was. And this is the new screw in the new screw hole, and I actually was able to undercut it to allow it to grab onto the new jewel. That's the new jewel setting in there, and the old screw also is holding that down, and there's enough of an angle there that's going to stay in place. I don't really need to cut another hole over on this side here. I could, but I don't need to do it. So it was quite the adventure. I didn't film all of that, but now the jewel's in place, and I should be able to reconstruct this movement, and then I can put the balance together, and then I can do the testing on it. So that's it for today. More just random stuff, but mainly carving material off this jewel using jeweling chucks. That's the big message today.